everybody, welcome to Midnight's Edge. We're here on the main channel because we are going to do a breakdown of San Diego Comic-Con, the news that was broken, the news that was unveiled, all the news that we're going to analyze. I'm, of course, Narrator Supreme, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo, coming to you from Shabby Road Studios, and with me, as always, is Mr. Tom Connors.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is where you're at. Good morning, I suppose, in some places.
Yes, it's morning somewhere. And since we're on the main channel, we are joined by the boss man.
Greetings, everyone. Hope you're all doing great.
Andre, thank you. Thank you. Why am I thanking you? It's your channel. Jeez, come on. All right. So let's just jump right into it, okay?
Yes.
We have Andre.
Yes. As most people will have gotten, this weekend was Comic-Con, and there's a lot of different subject matters to discuss in conjunction with that. But today we're just going to give our quick reactions on two different panels. First, the Star Trek panel, and then the Marvel panel. And then we'll get into more details in other topics in later videos. But for now, those are the two topics. So let us begin with the Star Trek panel, because on Saturday, the 20th of July, which incidentally was also the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, so yay, celebrations for that. But that's also when the Star Trek panel was at San Diego Comic-Con, and there we got the first look at the Star Trek Picard trailer. And now I know everyone is going to be curious, what did Midnight's Edge think about it? So let's break that down. Rob, why don't you go first? What did you think about the Star Trek Picard trailer? Your overall impression?
Okay, my overall impression. I didn't hate it, but you know what? There's still that part of the back of my brain that says, you know what? I don't trust it. It still has Alex Kurtzman involved and the same gang of Bad Robot and Secret Hideout, or bad Hideout, Secret Robot, or whatever you want to call them these days. Visually it looks good, as it always does. But again, you know, but when you step back and then you start picking it apart, you start to see that it's something there's that old saying, if it looks too good to be true, it usually is. And also, it seems like it's full of what South Park referred to as member berries. Look, we have Data. You remember Data. Look, we have 7 of 9. You remember 7 of 9. Look, we have Hugh. You remember Hugh? 3 of 5. You remember him? I don't know. I don't want to hate it. That's my thing. I don't want to hate it. It's still Patrick Stewart. It's still Picard. I don't want to hate it, but the jury's still out for me on this. Tom, what about you?
I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I did. There were some points I have questions about more so than I had before. Some things I thought were kind of cringe and came off as, typical synthetic, generic sci-fi. But outside of that, I'm very intrigued. It looked a lot better than I was expecting. And I'm sure we'll get into a few other points here and there as we get going here. But overall, I'm a lot more relieved than I thought I'd be. It looks pretty good. I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing where this is going. It could be crap, and it could be amazing at this point. I'm just glad that this trailer didn't suck. Andre?
As for me, well, before I say my opinion, let me clarify something on behalf of Midnight's Edge, because I know loads of people out there think that we want to hate Star Trek, that we're just negative Nancy's out to hate anything just for the sake of being haters. Nothing could be further from the truth. We all love Star Trek. And what we do from our point of view is we hold them accountable when they don't deliver on that. Do we deliver negative rumors and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. And that's because that's the stuff that gets out there. When things are working perfectly behind the scenes, you don't get any such rumors and stuff to go through. So, that being said, after the delays and change behind the scene and everything like that, what do I think of the Picard trailer? I liked it. Hell, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Let me just be clear. I did not want to dislike the Picard trailer or the Picard series. I do not want the Picard series to be another Star Trek Discovery, although for a long time, that's what it looked like it was shaping up to be. And for all we know, it still can be. Maybe they just used all the best footage that they had in the trailer. But based on this footage that we have to judge from what we see, based on this, overall, I am very, very happy. It would appear that the reshoots have helped, that Michael Chabon, which I believe is how it's supposed to be pronounced, has done a fairly good job. It could be that the demands that Amazon made when they came into the fray also helped clean house. We don't really know exactly what has transpired, but what we see on screen, to me, for the most part, looks good. That is not to say that I don't have some nitpicks, like how Brent Spiner looked as B4 or Data or whatever he placed there. That really could have been done better. But overall, I'm very happy with what we're seeing here. I have to say I am. So I'm relieved. There's nothing I want more than to be able to report on Picard saying, this is going good. We can now leave Discovery and stuff behind us and move forward with good Trek again. And I've always maintained that even within the confines of the alternate license, they can make good Star Trek. As long as there's a will, as long as there's the right execution, there's a way. And that hasn't always been the case before, but based on what we can see, I think that appears to be the case now. Certainly, I hope so. And in addition to just that, this trailer also revealed other surprises, like more cast. We had more people from the Next Generation era, even from Voyager, and some other alumni characters, plus some new characters, like this mystery woman. What's your take on all of that? Rob?
I'm just hoping that they don't make Picard a guest star in his own series and just make the focus all on her. I mean, we don't know who she is. There's a few theories floating around. Tom can explain that a little bit better, but I don't know. I'm getting sort of a Logan kind of vibe from this. That there's this the future rests in the hands of this one girl, and we have to protect her. And it's up to the grizzled old warhorse Picard to come out of retirement for one last ride. I can't help but think we've seen this story many times before. Tom?
Yeah. The story, as we're being presented here and what we know, does have a very Logan vibe, I guess, of any way to put it. But one thing that kind of stuck out to me, at least, and I think I'm sure a few other people have probably thought of this too, is with this girl with her special abilities and stuff like that. And the show is Picard, and obviously he feels like there's some responsibility there towards this girl. He gives a vague kind of thing in the trailer. What if she is the love child of either him or Locutus, whatever, and the Borg Queen? And this whole thing is like a bridge between the Borg and humanity and all this kind of stuff. And the age would be about right from where we are time-wise from First Contact. And the other weird thing I noticed was like everything they were referencing was either something from like Nemesis or something within, the latter Star Trek movies, it felt like, more so than outside of 7 of 9, which was the only thing in there that we haven't seen anything in a movie of before. Like that, even the whole thing with Data is a direct reference to Nemesis, and the whole thing that supposedly got, Picard out of Starfleet that had something to do with the whole deal with Romulus that was depicted in 09 Star Trek. So I don't know if Andre wants to elaborate on that more, if he has more to say about that. But yeah, this girl, I wonder because if they do that, that'll make it even more like Logan in a weird way. But yeah.
I have to say, I think that your theory there, Tom, is excellent. So, guys, for everyone keeping track or keeping notes or something, write this theory down. Again, this is not a prediction. This is just a speculation that the mystery woman, this is Tom's theory, is the daughter of Locutus and the Borg Queen. So let's see how that stacks up in the pool later on. Again, not a prediction, just speculation. Well, but I think I think that's solid speculation. So I'll be curious to see if maybe that's the case.
Well, you said something else when I pointed it out originally to you that kind of was like, yeah, because the show's called Picard. So then he wouldn't be the last in the line of Picards, as you pointed out, if she is his daughter. So that would be another kind of layer to the cake, I guess, another way of putting it.
Exactly, because otherwise Picard is the final Picard. He has no children. His brother and the brother's family, they're all dead. They died off-screen in Star Trek Generations, which I thought was really cheap and a shit way to do it, but that's neither here nor there. But basically, yeah, it would tie it all into Logan. And if there is one thing that this iteration of Star Trek has done, it is to rip off everyone and everything else, including indie video games, which we'll get back to at a later time. But that they would rip off Logan, which even had Patrick Stewart, I do not put past them at all. And you know what? I'm kind of okay with it as long as it works. Because we can say rip off Logan, but really what it is, it's Unforgiven. And if this is Star Trek Unforgiven, basically, then I'm very happy to give that a pass. For rip off whatever you want, as long as you do it freaking good.
It's all about
exactly. That's what's been lacking so far. But going back to what you said about most of the stuff that we see here is things that have been referenced in the movies. And that is a very good and a very interesting point, because I see some of the naysayers, those that are very anti-Midnight's Edge and who like to make up statements of things that we supposedly have said, and then that doesn't happen, and they refute us, basically using straw man arguments. Like, for instance, they said Star Trek Discovery would be cancelled, which we never said. And it never did. So yeah, things like that. I see some of those people already have used the Star Trek Picard trailer as some kind of evidence against anything that we have said or our previous reporting, which I don't get how the hell they're able to see that, because nothing in that trailer refutes our reporting in the slightest.
If anything, it supports it, because...
Exactly, it does support it. Everything there is consistent with what we reported in every last detail.
As I pointed out to a few people, and they just conveniently ignored that part. Interesting that it says it's coming out in 2020, not 2019, as they adamantly, said it was going to be out in the end of this year. But that's one thing.
That's one thing. Here, what we have here is the absolute proof that the delay in the series production and the reshoots that it's been undergoing since have taken so much time that the series is now being delayed, just like Star Trek Discovery before it. So that alone tells you that they're behind schedule, and they're behind schedule for a reason. You don't get behind schedule for no reason at all. But that being said, what this looks to be, based on the trailer, is them taking the time to fix it. They were off to a bad start, they've retooled it, and if that retooling has helped, then good. It's far better to release something good at a later time than something subpar on time. And Amazon, that ultimately pays the bill, realizes that too. Now, back to what you said about them referencing things from the original movies. Because here's the thing with the original Star Trek license, because as we've covered before, we're basically dealing with two different Star Treks. You have the original Star Trek, which is basically everything from 1966 up until 2005, and then you have everything from 2009 and up until this point, which is made under the alternate license. But there is an additional complicating factor in here, and that is the movies. Because all of the movies, their ownership is with Paramount. Paramount owns the movies. They do not own the right to make any new Star Trek, but they own the right to the movies. And it could very well be that it's far easier to put something from the movies than it is from something from the TV series, which is definitely CBS. As we've said before, they can license absolutely anything, even from the TV series, for screen use, exactly as is. Case in point, the Tribbles. They can put them on screen 100% as is, but that only means that they can't monetize it. In this case, they haven't really got the advertisers and the third-party licensees on board, so it's kind of a moot point. Meaning that if Amazon says bring in more Next Generation, license more of that stuff for screen use, it's not going to be monetized anyway, so just put more of it. They can do that. And also, who is to say that the 7 of 9 we're seeing right now, that she's not the legendary 25% different, just like Spock Prime was. So basically, everything that we see in Star Trek Picard is perfectly consistent with our previous reporting.
Right.
Any thoughts on that? Tom, anything you want to add?
Again, we've always had one little thing where I've always questioned where the movies fit into this. And again, this might be kind of starting to answer that question a little bit more. So I don't really see the refuting as a part of this as an issue, because even the 25% thinking, oh, that comm badge looks exactly the same. We've never said they couldn't use stuff from the other.
Exactly. We've always said that they can use stuff. But again, that just goes back to those who criticize us like to use straw man arguments and place arguments in our mouths that we've never actually uttered. Mm-hmm. But like, to everyone else listening, everyone else who actually listened to what we're saying, rather than what they like to imagine that we're saying, everything we're seeing here is perfectly consistent with what we've always said.
If they want to sell it as merchandise, that's the draw. That's the demarcation line.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if for that purposes, that's why we're 25%, the 25% difference number comes into play.
Yeah,
because if it's 25% different, then they could sell it as merchandise. If not,
and again, the number 25% itself is to be taken with a grain of salt. Really, it's up to the lawyers of the different companies to decide what is too similar and what is sufficiently different. It's difficult to say exactly what is 25% and to quantify it. Really, it's just that the lawyers agree that's different enough. But let's move on from the Star Trek Picard trailer, unless you have anything else you want to say about it.
You brought up the whole data thing, and that's one thing that I think bothered me the most in the entire trailer. I loved seeing B4/Data, whatever he is there. But what is this? In the world where a kid on a phone can do a better job with a deep fake for a facial replacement, are we looking at bloated data? And I seen somebody on the Facebook group make the perfect comment, and I don't want to dox them or anything, so I aren't going to say the name, but they said, this is why you don't do this kind of thing on a TV budget. And it's an exact reason why. Why couldn't they get a younger, slender, more, close to what he was in the original, or at least back to the movies, and then just put his face over top of that actor? Just didn't make any sense to me. We live in a day and age where it's so cheap and easy to do. We shouldn't be looking at bloated data like that. It was embarrassing.
I agree with that completely. And also, let's make one thing clear. This Picard series is not made on a traditional TV budget. This is movie budget fare.
Right,
This is going to be
that
one
too.
of the most expensive movies ever made. And that makes it even worse. Because the thing that I always thought was particularly bad is that Data is supposed to not age. And then, of course, you can try to write around it with stupid excuses and stuff like that for how Brent Spiner keeps on getting older and fatter, unlike Data. And if you look at like the difference from Data from season 1 of The Next Generation to season 7, and especially in the movies, yeah, that's a Data that keeps on getting more and more bloated, and it does that here as well. And here, there's really no excuse for it. Because again, they could have pulled a John Connor, and by that I mean they basically just used the likeness of Edward Furlong from years ago and put that on top of a young actor right now, and they're good to go. That's what I think that they should have done with Data as well. Because, yeah, Brent Spiner is awesome and all of that, but he doesn't look like Data anymore. He can't pull it off. And we see that here. If they have done any kind of treatment with the image, which I'm sure they haven't done enough of it. Because he looks ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's just more. Let's cross our fingers and hope they'll do a better job with it before it airs. But again, that was just a slight nitpick. Other than that, my only criticisms, like I said before, was just there was some stuff that came off as very, generic sci-fi. But there were moments and feelings and member berries here and there, and I welcome that. It's not so much that I want the same old thing. I like that they respect the past while going forward. That's what people want. That's what, as far as I know, most of the fans want. And those in the fandom menace, or whatever you want to call, the post-geek singularity or the dork web, whatever, those who are speaking out against things and don't just, accept what they're given like cattle. So, yeah, we can move on from this subject, definitely.
Like we keep saying, we don't want to hate Star Trek. We want this to be better. That's the thing. We all want to love Star Trek like we used to, but we're not going to just accept something. We're not going to accept a subpar product and just merely consume. We're going to analyze. We're going to be critical. We're going to praise where it's deserving, and we are going to be critical where it's deserving. That's all. And like I said, it's.
Okay. And so far, honestly, it's been more deserving of criticism than it has been of praise. So I genuinely hope that changes with Picard. Nothing would make me happier as a Star Trek fan. So CBS, this is a message for you. Do you want us to get off your backs? Well, then fucking do better.
That's right. Do better. That's exactly. You need to do better. And it's not our fault. We're not the gatekeepers. You are.
Exactly. So just do better, and you'll see us turn from what we are now till someone that will give you praise when you deserve it, but you got to deserve it first. Now, moving on from Picard to season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, which we incidentally have never ever claimed would be cancelled. What we have said is that there were discussions behind the scenes. It would appear that those discussions have ended with Netflix picking up a 3rd season anyway. I guess that was probably cheaper than the cancellation fee. As far as we know, but that's what they're claiming, and I see no reason why they would be dishonest about that. So yeah, we are getting season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, which was, I always imagined to be the case. And what we've learned so far is that it certainly started filming in Iceland. What do you think about that?
Well, I've never been to Iceland, but I hear it's absolutely breathtaking. The landscapes there. So we're probably going to see a lot of alien landscapes.
Actually,
and you can, yeah, if you have a picture, Tom, put it up. And one of the things, and part of the reason why they're filming in Iceland is because after the 2008 banking crash, the Iceland's currency went into the tank, and so they're probably giving Audrey, you're in finance, you know more about that. Is that correct? So that's why they're giving a lot of
well, not entirely. Basically, what happened is that Iceland's economy has always been very, shall we say, unique. It's been very financial and very banking driven. And following the financial crisis, their entire banking sector, it's basically went to hell. And then everyone became poor. They became like a running joke in the rest of the Scandinavian countries. Like, oh, you're from Iceland, you must be poor. You must be poor. So yeah, but they've been, the Icelandic being really, really upright and upstanding people that adapt to any situation. That's why they live in Iceland. They found a way out of it, and their economy is booming again. And one of the things that they did was that they understood the value of providing incentives for Hollywood to film there. And after they did that, every movie that has some kind of alien landscape goes to film in Iceland. Prometheus filmed in Iceland. Interstellar filmed in Iceland. Thor: The Dark World filmed in Iceland. Basically, any landscape that looks kind of alien is filmed in Iceland. And it doesn't break the bank because of the tax incentives, but still it really helps the Icelandic economy and everything in more ways than one. I wish Norway would learn from that, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, they're filming in Iceland, which I think is a good decision. Again, this is not something new for Star Trek or even Star Trek Discovery in this iteration of Star Trek, which is like filming all over the world anyway. So going to Iceland is just a natural fit in the next step. So I'm not surprised by that in the slightest. Good for them. Hope it looks great.
Do you ever notice people in the future all wear long leather jackets? That's weird.
Which is funny, yeah. But we got a few pictures here of filming. We got Michael Burnham here and the new character here. The interesting new uniform here. And then, like I said, long leather jackets. Here's my problem with season 3 of Discovery. It should be season 1. And I'd be more on board with it because it wouldn't have ruined Star Trek canon already. It would have been a show set 1,000 years in the future about a futuristic starship we've never seen before. And it could even still have been about Spock's long-lost sister. But either way, it doesn't really freaking matter because it doesn't matter at this point. I don't care because the show has already killed it for me. I'd be more excited for this season if it wasn't for that fact.
Well, you're probably going to hear me rage about it at some point again. But it's... Listen, you just when you think they can't screw things up as much as they have, they're going to find a way. Believe you me, they will find a way. I don't know. I'm just out of words as to how bad Star Trek Discovery is. I really am, and I'm just waiting for the next opportunity I have to see what they can get wrong. I really am. Andre?
Yeah, I forgot to mention in the interesting tidbit about Iceland, my own feelings towards season 3, other than that it's happening. I don't care because it's dead to me. As Tom said, it doesn't matter what they do from here on out. It doesn't matter whatever happens short of them going back in time and undoing absolutely everything. I don't care because it was so bad. It completely, utterly ruins, well, not just canon because it's like beside that, but it's not even consistent with itself. And it's just ruined Star Trek. It really does. And it's not the fault of the cast. It's not the fault of the look. It's not the fault of the effects. Like every single thing in it on its own, it's tolerable, but it's the sum of all things that just doesn't work. And it can never work because it's too far gone. So yeah, they made a season 3. Good for them. Will I be watching? Well, I may be, just for you guys to be able to review it. And on that one, CBS, if you're listening, which I know you are, you don't have to do better. It doesn't matter. Focus all your attention on Picard and get that right.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. And speaking of, Rob, any more thoughts on Star Trek Discovery 3?
No, not really. No.
Then we might as well move on to the next bit that is right here for us handily. We've got to look at our first look at Lower Decks. This was one of the few images we got, but we got some of the casting here, as you can see. And I'll just lead this off by saying this. This show to me, let's face it, it was just basically their answer to Seth MacFarlane and the Orville. And so what do? They make a cartoon comedy show, get the guys from Rick and Morty to even, just kind of twist that knife even more. It probably would have, anybody they asked from Family Guy probably would have said no. So anyway, I just feel this is beneath Star Trek. I really do. I mean, I haven't seen a trailer yet. I'll hold off and see, but let's remember, this is supposed to be the adult-oriented show, okay? I mean, everything I've seen so far just is not very promising to me. Rob, you're more into you're even more into these kind of shows than I am, like especially Rick and Morty and stuff like that. So go for it.
Yeah, I'm into these shows, but as long as they're good, that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah,
it might be disrespectful to Star Trek in a way.
Oh, there's just when you think they've hit bottom, there's a new low. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, you say it's beneath Star Trek. As far as Alex Kurtzman goes, to him, nothing is beneath Star Trek. There's no bottom for him. Jerry at Commander Ransom. I mean, did they want to name Commander Handsome and said no, too obvious? The whole style of animation with the heavy lines and it looks like cheap Flash animation. First of all, the other thing is, like I said, what is it? They're trying to be. Are they going to be trying to be edgy? Because, like I said, the guy from Rick and Morty is doing this. How did they arrive at this? Oh, we need to do something. We need to do something that's hip and the young kids will like. And, oh yeah, this Rick and Morty thing. Yeah, they like that. Well, let's do something like that. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like I said, I like Rick and Morty. I really like Rick and Morty. But this doesn't look like anything I'd watch. It looks like a bad Adult Swim series.
I like pizza and I like fish, but they shouldn't be together either.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean,
except for
anchovy. I don't like anchovies either. But
okay, well.
I'm just saying, this is just. I mean, that was probably a bad example. But point being,
well, there's more characters. I mean, aren't there there's
other characters. Who gives a crap, really? I mean, who asked for this? I'm not trying to be negative, but really, this really turned me off after seeing, getting the little perk and the little bit of charge and rush from Picard.
You know what this is? You know what this is? This is second guessing the audience. It really is. This is second guessing their audience. Well, we have to come up with something that we think they'd like. Not with something that not with something they'd like. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, they always would say, we never second guess the audience because they consider themselves as part of the audience. When Steven Spielberg would sit down and there would be, okay, what kind of movie do I want to see? What kind of movie do I want to see? George Lucas, same thing. What kind of movie do I want to see? I want to see an adventure. Okay, Indiana Jones. I want to see a story about a kid and it meets an alien. Okay, E.T. I want to see a movie about dinosaurs, Jurassic Park. This looks like they sat down like, oh, well, geez. It looks like the product of committee thinking, really, this. Like Poochie from The Simpsons. Remember that?
Yeah. Andre,
you've been silent, Andre. What do you think?
Well, I don't have an opinion yet for the very simple reason that I haven't seen enough of it. I've seen one frame of it, and I've heard that there's going to be references to Star Trek, the animated series, the old Filmation series, which I, by the way, absolutely love. I can't get enough of that series. So any references to that is always welcome. But I'm just going to reserve my judgment for right now. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the art style or anything, but as long as the writing is good and with the Lower Decks, basically that's like the the kind of like a Red Dwarf angle, that you're dealing with the low tier technicians, and an animation about how their job is like when you get red alerts and you have to drop everything presumably and stuff. Yeah, I can see some fun with that. So I'm just going to reserve my judgment and hope for the best. Hope it's going to be fun. Will it be? I don't know. As long as whoever does the Rick and Morty gets complete and total creative control over it, which I think he does, then yeah, bring it on and let's try it and hope for the best. And if it isn't good, it's just an animation, so we are free to ignore it. And if it's brilliant, then fantastic. So yeah, I'll just wait and see. I have no other opinion at this time.
To be clear, it's not Dan Harmon though that's involved. It's the other guy.
I don't know any of them. I know I've never seen Rick and Morty, so I just trust that. Hopefully it's going to be fun.
It's a guy by the name of Mike McMahon. He was a writer on season 1, I believe, of Rick and Morty. I guarantee, I'll lay even money, guarantee you that they do the joke where the guys goes through the transporter and his head is on backwards. I guarantee you.
Straight from Spaceballs.
Well,
yes,
that's
exactly.
That's what this is going to be. This is going to be what every show is, making fun of Star Trek and what Star Trek shouldn't be doing.
Oh, if it's that, if that's what they're doing, then I'm completely and utterly against it. I reserve my judgment because I don't yet know that that's what they're doing. Of course, if that's what they are doing, then I'll continue reserving my judgment till I see an episode. And if that's what they're doing, then it's going to get the Star Trek Discovery treatment from Midnight's Edge. I guarantee you. So let's just.
You can do a satirical take on Star Trek and have it be good. Let me just put that right out there. Yeah, it's called the Orville. Yeah. It's called Galaxy Quest. It's called, or even to a lesser degree, it's called Final Space. But the thing is, you're using the Star Trek brand. That's the thing here. That's the thing. Tom?
Yeah, and that's just it. And I think we get a taste of this on one of the short treks, and I think that'll segue into the next part then.
Absolutely, because speaking of short treks, what we also learned is that there's going to be a new season of short treks, and many of them will focus on Pike and the Enterprise. Your thoughts on that, Rob?
Well, this version of Pike, played by Anson Mount, was the best thing of a bad lot. So I'm glad to see Anson Mount return in that capacity. Whether or not the short treks are going to be worth watching is another matter. The whole thing, these are all going to be bottle episodes because they're going to be made on the cheap again.
Of course, they're short treks. There's no budget behind them. At least no real budget.
Abandoned ships, stuck. They have one. It looks like they're going to have one where Ethan Peck's version of Spock is going to be stuck in a turbo lift with Rebecca Romaine and her version of Number One. Where he just annoys her. So essentially, they're saying Spock is Sheldon Cooper.
They tease the possibility of Kirk showing up.
Yeah, they tease possibly Kirk showing. One thing I noticed now, actor H. John Benjamin is going to be in one of these, and we're rewriting history once again. He is appears to play a scientist of some sort, and it looks like they're going to say he created the Tribbles, and they're going to turn the Tribbles into vicious killers. Kind of like Ghoulies. Remember the Ghoulies?
Are they going to make them, say, 25% different?
25% critters. Tom?
Yeah, about that. Interesting, huh?
so that they can sell the critters in merchandise form and get some of that money themselves instead of CBS having all of it.
Yeah, because I'm sure Tribbles made a lot of money.
That's the way to do it. If they want some money from Tribbles, that's the only way they're going to get it.
I think so.
I think we're going to see a face on the Tribbles. I really do. I think we're going to, because they were just a little ball of hair. I think they're going to put a face on them. There's your 25% difference.
Yeah, that being said, you know what? A short trek with critter tribbles is something I'd actually be a little bit interested in seeing. I have to admit. Then that would probably be the first short trek I'd be watching, because so far I haven't seen a single one of them. Again, on Netflix, they're dumped in with the trailer section, and really I can't be asked. I mean, I get too much Star Trek Discovery as it is. Why would I want more of it that I don't have to see? That being said, though, this thing here, Enterprise and Anson Mount, the short treks, that's what they should have done instead of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. So yeah, bring it on. They should have done the other way around. They could have done like short treks with Star Trek Discovery instead of Star Trek Enterprise version 1.0. I'd be much more interested in that. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much. I liked Anson Mount in this. That was one of the few highlights, like Rob said, of the last season. Now, is he really Pike? That's questionable, but I like Anson Mount in the part. It was kind of nice that whenever he was on screen, it felt like we were watching Star Trek, because he acted like somebody who knew what it was like they should be acting in Star Trek. So, we got a super chat. I don't know if you want to address that real quick.
Yeah, let's address that before we segue into the next panel, because Lonnie Holcomb sent us a $5 super chat saying, "A face on a tribble makes a gremlin. Think about it." Yeah, and think about this. Star Trek Discovery and their makers are very happy about ripping off everyone and everything. So, yeah, I'm not surprised if they go with either Gremlins or Critters ripoffs. And now, with that being said, let us move on to the next part of the discussion.
It's just a quick note. Bill Hunt of the Digital Bits, our good friend over there at the Digital Bits, he was able to not announce, but say that Paramount is considering a 4K release of the Director's Edition of Star Trek, the motion picture, for the 40th anniversary. So there's a good chance this could happen. So keep your fingers crossed, folks. That's good news. The fact that Paramount let him say that is a very good sign. And we do have another super chat that'll segue then perfectly into the next part, I suppose.
Yeah, Observer Dude sent us a £5 super chat saying, "I think Picard should be the new president of the Federation in Paris, and B4 has built androids as a way of honoring Data and Dr. Soong." Yeah, we'll see what they do.
The last thing I want to say about Picard, did you notice that in that first photo that Robert Meyer Burnett published on his Twitter feed, I don't listen, I'm just a stupid American, what do I know? But to me, they made him look as stereotypically French as possible.
Well, he is supposed to be French, so
yes. I mean, but they never really, but they always kind of hinted toward it. But he's supposed to be, but I mean, he might as well be driving a Peugeot for for all we know in this photo. I mean, come on, you just, oh God, they even in the episode Family, they never really accentuated his Frenchness. It was always some sort of quasi futuristic look to the clothing, but hey, like I said, what do I know? So, all right.
And with that, I would like to thank the panel for joining us. So, Rob and Tom, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Anytime. It's a pleasure.
And also, thank you to every single one of you that have been watching, and especially those that have sent super chats. We really appreciate any help in keeping the lights on, because YouTube certainly isn't helping with that. So, yeah. Have a nice evening, have a nice day, have a nice morning, wherever you are. Be awesome.
Yes. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a comment, like it, and help share it. Or if you didn't, tell us why in the comments. If you did enjoy it, then feel free to subscribe, but remember to hit the bell icon to select that you want notifications all the time, otherwise YouTube might randomly unsubscribe you. Midnight's Edge is completely independent and devoted to bringing you the intelligent analysis of the inner workings of the film industry and genre media. If you like what we do, then we would be very grateful if you could help us keep the lights on by supporting us on Patreon or on Subscribestar. Our backers receive exclusive rewards and bonuses. Before you go, check out these other videos that may interest you, and our sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark for more live shows and more laid-back content.